Mad Scientist 7890 back at you again with edition 2, right here, 2 of In the Lab. This one's a bit interesting. I've been wanting to hit this one up for a long time too. You know, in today's wrestling world, a lot of people feel like to be a top-notch talent in mainstream professional wrestling, you need to be the total package. And I understand, you know, there's a couple of guys that I do see that are the total package in pro wrestling. And, you know, and I'll get to that and, you know, who I think that is. But this is basically going to be a video, wrestling ability versus wrestling characters, gimmicks, and mic skills, basically. You know, I feel like the way wrestling's going nowadays, I don't think you particularly have to have a really good mic skills. You don't have to have an outstanding character to get over with crowds. I think if you wow the crowd with your ability, I think that's a special quality that a lot of guys in WWE just don't really have above and beyond their own character. The first thing I'm going to talk about is we're going to go with wrestling ability. Wow, the one person that just personally to me personifies flat out wrestling ability, just not a lot of character, really just no gimmick, really much of a gimmick at all. I mean, if you can consider it a gimmick, just not any mic skills, just bees himself, and he's just an outstanding wrestler. And that's Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson. You know, I feel like nowadays you really don't have to be that big outlandish character from, you know, like the 80s with the giant muscles to get noticed. I think if you do work in the ring, you'll get noticed. And I think that's a really important thing with today's wrestling. A lot of fans in the mainstream are missing, where you have guys who just don't watch WWE and just don't watch TNA very much, because the quality of the matches just aren't as good as, you know, Ring of Honor or, you know, PWG. And a lot of people say till this day, you know, and people will still continue to say Ring of Honor there's no storytelling, there's no, you know, story behind it, there's no angles. It's just two dudes wrestling for no reason, or two tag teams, or, you know, triple threat, whatever. Just people just wrestling to wrestle, just having, you know, just a contest, and there's no reason behind it. I don't believe that. I think, you know, building around a storyline, and I think the problem is with a lot of mainstream wrestling is you build your storyline to a match that's a payoff. Now, if you're going to build around a storyline, and then your match at a main event of a pay-per-view is shit, well, then your storyline failed. You can have the greatest storylines in the world, but as soon as your payoff, your match, which is where you're going to, fails, your storyline fails. That's what it is. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You know, there's just nothing you can really do about it. And Daniel Bryan's the one guy who I think is good enough to build storylines around with other guys who I think have more skills on the mic, more character, and I think he can develop that later on. But I feel like at the end of a feud in a main event title match, the payoff will be better than someone who just doesn't care, you know, or someone who's just not, you know, the be-all end-all of wrestling ability in the ring. Which takes me to my next person, who I feel like is a lot of hot air, hot gas, whatever you want to call it. I like it. I like the guy, but he's a lot of talk, all character, all WWE, just all the time, and that's The Miz. And I am a fan. I'm a fan of The Miz, and I like what he's done. And I think he's decent. He's decent in the ring. I'm not looking forward to, seeing him in the ring and seeing an outstanding wrestling contest. I just feel like it's just not going to happen. He's in the ring with other guys who really bring it out of him. I can see that. But, they try to make, The Miz versus John Cena at WrestleMania more of a spectacle, really, than an actual match. And the match was just, it wasn't great. It was okay. And I think what really got that over was the whole thing with The Rock and John Cena and everything, and then The Miz thrown in there, and all the storyline stuff they did leading up to it, with The Miz jumping in there and saying, hey, I'm not being, no one's talking about me, and I'm the must-see champion. I got a, golden tongue, and I talk, and I, blabber, and, and that's great, and he's a character. He's a wrestling character, and his ability is subpar to his talking ability. That's just that. There's no way getting around it. He's not horrible. He's decent, and he's gotten better over the past couple of years, and that's good to see. I'm glad. But me going into WrestleMania last year and thinking that John Cena and The Miz were going to have a 4-star plus classic WrestleMania match, just did not see it, and it didn't happen. So there's that. You're putting that together as well with the ability. So if you're getting over in the payoff is not that big at WrestleMania, your storyline failed. Because I've said this to other friends and I've said this to other people numerous times. This year at WrestleMania, it shouldn't have been John Cena versus The Miz. They should have gave The Rock what he wanted. It should have been The Rock versus John Cena. But you have to wait a year in advance, and I think it's just weak. That they're doing it like this, but it's going to be a spectacle anyway. So that's all you can say about that. Now, the final thing I'm going to get to is the cross between both, which most people feel like that you don't need to have both these qualities personally to make it in the wrestling business. And this one guy, I feel like, has both, and I think finally is getting noticed for it, and I think that's fabulous. And that's CM Punk. I think CM Punk, ability-wise in the ring, can go with the best. If you go back and watch his Ring of Honor stuff, had fabulous matches with Joe and AJ, and just great stuff, great matches. Danielson, when he was there, and to top it all off, his character was over, his gimmick was good, everything. His mic skills are fabulous. What else more can you ask for out of that? And it's really, really awesome to see that he's being used the way he's being used now as a main eventer, and he should be. I really personally don't look at guys for their size being discounted as being, you can't be a major superstar in professional wrestling because you're not 208 pounds, 6'3". I think that's horrible, and I think that's the way it used to be, and I don't think it should be like that anymore. When I look at CM Punk with this, I think he's the perfect prototype for when you look for the perfect wrestler, except for the size, which people always look for. And I don't even care about size. The size to me. And another guy that I really, really like, and I really liked when he was in Ring of Honor, I really like what he's doing now, it's Austin Aries, who would be in that same boat. I feel like can talk, I feel like his gimmick's good, and his ability in the ring's good. I think TNA should capitalize on how good he is on the mic, how good he is ability-wise, but I don't think they will because, Hulk Hogan's one of those guys where he's just vanilla, spot monkey, midget, whatever they use on the internet now these days. So, that I don't see size as being a problem. Now, here's my versus deal. Should, personally, guys who are better on the mic go farther in mainstream wrestling, or gimmick-wise, or character, than guys who have just pure ability, who can wrestle? You look at guys like Jericho, who's a combination of both as well, I absolutely love, and Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero and Benoit, guys like them. Benoit wasn't a talker. Guerrero grew into being a better talker. Mysterio's just not much of a talker, but he has that ability and he has that superhero type feel. You look at John Cena and he's the prototype, what everyone wants WWE superstars to be like, but his ability is not up to par. And like I said, I will not gonna hate on John Cena, anymore. There was a phase for years, I went through where I just absolutely hated the guy, couldn't stand him, and I've just grown past that to respect what he's done, and I feel like ability-wise, he's a lot better than he used to. In the slew of matches he's had recently, in a row, I think he feels like he's tired of hearing you can't wrestle or you're no good or all that that stuff, and he takes it with a grain of salt, over your shoulder. That's the way he is, and I've always respected how he does things, and I think that's great how he runs that. But what I want to know from anybody watching, do you think a guy who can talk should get over mainstream more than a guy with ability? Because right now, The Miz is a guy who is a talker, but he got over before John Morrison, whose ability in the ring is better than his. Everyone talks about John Morrison. Oh, well, he'll be a world champion before The Miz. And it didn't happen. The Miz was. Because character-wise, he was on the mic. He was, behind the scenes working it. Everything he was doing. I feel now that they're going to try to take guys who just have wrestling ability and try to at least give them some sort of push. Because I know Daniel Bryan and a lot of people can't stand the fact that he's not much of a talker. And I don't know what to say about that. I think he's the payoff in the match is what really sticks out to me. And I think if you build around a storyline and then you have the match and the match is no good, the storyline fails to me. You can have the greatest storyline in the world, but if your match is 6 minutes long, you botch 3 or 4 moves, you don't sell anything, and the match just looks just horrible, your storyline fails. So, like I said, I want to know what you guys think. Who would win this battle, or do you think it doesn't even matter? Do you think that you don't need a prototype person? You don't need a person who's both. You can have a little bit of both here and there and work with what you got, or do you think there needs to be 15 CM Punks in WWE for the company to be great again, or there to be great matches? So hit me up, subscribe, comment, like this video. If you don't like this video, it's just too bad. I'm still going to continue to do them. So thanks, guys, and check out the IWR show also. I'm on that. So have a good one, guys.